There we go.
Better?
There we go. Wonderful. Thank you.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, guys. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And thanks to Lachezar and Andrea here who have joined us, and just for playing such a stunning program. And it was so wonderful to be able to share your music with our community and hopefully many beyond. For those of you who are watching, and there was a healthy group watching, this is wonderful, feel free to put any comments or questions, particularly if you have any, in the chat, and we'll try to respond to those. But wonderful, yeah. How are you guys feeling?
Oh,
very lucky that you invited us to join the series, and Matt, Nick, and Sean really made us look good. Kudos to them. They were such a wonderful crew to work with. So definitely, like, it was so beautifully produced.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the audio, if you did not listen with good headphones or really good speakers, go back and listen once more. Because I mean, the audio that Matt and Sean, our guys, have done is just exquisite, and you won't really sense that through your computer or your iPhone speakers by any means. And also to Nick, our videographer, who continues to do just stunning work for us.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So thanks to all of our crew, but thank you particularly to both of you for a wonderful program. And it struck me that only, I guess, the solo cello pieces were actually written for cello. Is that right, Lachezar? So yeah. I wonder if you might talk about how you chose the program, particularly given most of its transcription.
You know, it's really amazing. And I was thinking about the same thing, but how appropriate it is that a piece for solo cello was the only original piece on the program. And I mean, listen, let's not kid ourselves. The first 3 or 4 pieces that Andrea and I played are some of the most beloved works of the repertoire.
Yeah,
everybody knows. And, you know, just playing them, just reconnecting with them for both of us is a special sort of, I would say, special experience, because, you know, we need this sort of, I don't want to say the word cheesy, but it's like, it's something nice, something comfortable, comforting, something great to connect with, whether it's Chopin or the Thais meditation or Liebeslied, you know, which is unbelievable. That's great music. I'm so sorry for the pianists and violinists that we stole from them, but that's what we do. This is not my arrangements. You know, but one other thing, that the reason we chose these works is that those are sort of the first 2 or 3 pieces that Andrea and I started playing together.
Oh, really?
Because, if you... without diminishing her amazing work as a pianist, amazing, which is mind-blowing. I was just like listening and looking at the recording, mind-blowing. But initially, when we started playing, I thought to myself, you know what? I mean, she hasn't played with other people a lot. So let me choose pieces that are, you know, harder for me and easier for the piano, so it's going to be a little bit easier for her to follow. And she was a marvel, you know, it was unbelievable. And obviously we went much difficult, because the last piece that we played, the Coleridge Taylor, is basically a piano cello piece. It's like huge, rich piano part, which Andrea did amazingly. I mean, you could hear octaves, thirds, sixths, you know, arpeggios. Amazing. I mean, look at that.
So spoiler alert. How about I give you my version of how we picked this program? So
okay, please.
He's a musician, and because of COVID, like, Lachezar needed someone to play with, and we were asked by people to do virtual concerts. We first started with a local organization called our Joyful Noise in Baltimore to play for COVID patients and their doctors. So we had to come up with a program. I haven't honestly played seriously in maybe 2 decades. You know, so it was, you know, trying to ease myself, build my confidence, and so Lachezar and I decided on these pieces because they were familiar. And we managed to, you know, to make, we have like a little bit of a repertoire now that we can play.
Sorry, no, it's like more than 2 hours now, because we're adding Brahms, we're adding Schubert, Schumann, you know, all that. Yeah, we're adding good stuff.
So, yeah.
So that's the story.
Fantastic.
It evolved over time. Yeah,
for those of you who didn't read Andrea's bio, like Andrea, you're a lawyer by training, right? And you.
Yeah. Yes, one of my many careers that I think I've, kind of stumbled upon in life. But that's what I currently do. I work for the FDA, and if any of my colleagues at the FDA are watching, hi to everyone.
Thank you all guys for doing whatever you're doing right now.
Yeah, shout out to everybody who's working in government these days.
Yeah. No, I was sorry, Chris, but I was joking with somebody, and I said Andrea must be the most accomplished pianist that I've ever played with. Even though she's not accomplished in music per se, she's accomplished a lot. She has, obviously she's a lawyer. She has an MBA. Everybody should read her professional musical bio. It's just so funny. It's just Anyways, she's very accomplished outside of the music.
Obviously. Lachezar, I don't know much about your background. How did you start playing?
I was born in Bulgaria, a communist country at the time, and this, there was a lot of support for children to study music from a very early age. So I started playing cello when I was 5, and that was a big blessing because I had the same teacher, basically the same teacher, from when I was 5 years old until I was 18, and that now for me as a teacher nowadays, I see sort of the revolving doors situation that is happening. Children change teachers every 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. And I was very lucky to have the same teacher for basically 13 years. But, outside of that, you've heard about sort of the Soviet or the Chinese or the Bulgarian, all the sort of the former communist bloc. Mm-hmm. They really, really, I don't want to say forced, but children started playing the piano at 3, the violin at 4, and cello at 5. So cellists were late bloomers, so to say. But sorry. Shout out to you, Chris. You and I went to Yale together. We haven't seen each other in like ages. Excuse me.
So full disclosure, Lachezar and I were students at Yale together. I even got my Yale mug that they gave us way back when.
Oh, man.
Nice.
For my tea here. So yeah, it's wonderful to be able to reconnect here in Baltimore, which is a nice coincidence.
You haven't changed at all. You haven't changed at all. Seriously. I think we were at school between 2006 and 2008.
That's right.
Yeah. You're basically the same. I've lost hair.
I'm losing some hair too. Don't tell anybody. So for those of you who are watching, please don't be shy about putting comments in the chat or asking any questions. But Andrea, I wonder if you might just talk about how you have juggled like your work at home life and your practicing life now that you've been practicing, presumably more.
Yeah, well, since COVID started, I've been working from home 100%. And so I'm lucky in that regard. So I no longer have a crazy commute. I used to get up at 5 in the morning, so I could catch a van pool at 6, so I could be at work by 7. So, when I got home, I was exhausted and I really didn't have very much time to do much of anything. But because of COVID, I did have some extra time. And I'm gonna, so Lachezar asked me to play. We had an agreement that if I were to practice, he was going to do the dishes and do the cooking and all that kind of stuff. So I had the space. So it was a pretty good deal for me.
Sorry to interrupt. At the time, we had a non-working dishwasher. I'm sorry to say, this was ludicrous.
Our dishwasher broke during COVID.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
So excuse me, with the contract of her practicing and me doing dishes, it was the worst deal I could get.
Yes, but I really did need to practice because, I hadn't played, in a very long time. And then also too, my colleagues at work, they allowed me to take days off here and there to practice and cram for whatever the next, virtual concert was. So, I luckily had the time, and I had someone who was always reminding me when I needed to practice.
That's always a good thing. I need somebody here to do that for me. So.
I'll send him over to you, Chris.
Okay.
Same with you.
No, thank you. I don't want to live with any other pianists. One is enough. I mean,
okay.
But yeah, I wanted to say, outside of that, I think Andrea has become sort of a minor celebrity in her office at the FDA, because I think she has, people know her obviously as at her job, but now I think she has a small following of people who are following her musical career. It's amazing.
I don't think that a lot of people at work knew that I played the piano, so as I gained confidence, I also was able to share with folks like, links and announcements when I was playing. So it was nice to have their support also as well.
So how many of these online concerts have you guys done during the lockdown?
I would say 15 maybe.
Wow. Including some for the BSO, right? So I think I saw one. Yeah, so Lachezar, I wonder if you might talk about what life is like at the Baltimore Symphony these days. Like, how's morale and how's everybody functioning?
We're having rehearsals at the moment for a wonderful program that we are recording this Friday and Saturday. I have to tell you, it's just great to see people. It's just great to be in the same vicinity with people, even though we're not close to each other, as physically close as we were before. It's amazing. It's amazing to see people and be around people and hear other sounds. And you know what, Chris? I mean, just watching this performance today. Obviously, it was our performance, but it just reminded we are missing a lot. We are missing a lot of this human connection that is happening when we get quiet and when we go to the concert hall and the lights get off and somebody else does the music. It's just such a loss, such an emotional loss for everybody. Whether it's audiences, whether it's musicians, whether it's people at church. I know that I think people at Emmanuel are really looking forward to coming back. This amazing church in Baltimore. It's funny. I think I told you before we recorded our this program. I was in Germany. And I had six concerts right before the European lockdown started again. And that was just a tremendous, awful feeling in a sense that here we are again. I mean, we have to do that. We have to be safe, but we're missing so much of this human contact. And I know that everybody at the Baltimore Symphony is just eagerly awaiting the time that we can be with our patrons again. I mean, we miss everybody so much, and we miss each other. Honestly, we miss each other. I mean, I see my colleagues. We can't even give each other hugs. We kid around, we joke around with them, but it's basically not the same. And you know how it is.
But at the same time, too, for someone who's attended almost every BSO concert for the past 4 years, they had an amazing virtual presence on Facebook all summer. Like the musicians dedicated their time to keep in connection with the audience. And the BSO sessions, for those of you guys who haven't watched it yet, every few weeks every week basically.
Every week.
They release something, new videos. So at least we have something. Like they're providing music to us. It's not in the ideal form, but it's definitely welcomed, in the COVID environment.
Yeah, I mean, the circumstances have certainly propelled all of us to think of how we do things and to explore new ways of doing things. And I mean, just recording the recitals that I've done as part of this series, it was I get to make music with somebody. It's really, really remarkable.
By the way, sorry, I have to interrupt you right there. You have done an amazing job playing piano and organ for your series. I know that we've already seen. Do you have another one coming?
No.
You've done 3 already, right? 3?
Yeah.
Oh, they're amazing.
You're
just great. It's just great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We've got a couple comments here, including a big fan of Andrea. I don't know if you can see these. I don't think you guys can.
No, we can't.
It says, I'm such a fan of Andrea and Lachezar, parenthetically. As a current music student and future law student, it's really nice to see other people who are doing ambitious work. So it's
thank you.
From Krista. And there's a question here from Anne-Marie about Coleridge Taylor. It's not a name so familiar in the US, but he was referred to as the African Mahler during his time. And he's known in England, where he was born and raised, to, I think, mixed race parents. But I wonder if you can just speak about how you found the ballade and chose to kind of work with that piece particularly.
I have to answer. I have to say 2 things before that. It's very interesting when we when we say African Mahler, or as is the case with George Boulogne, the Chevalier de Saint George, as they call him, the African Mozart. It's very interesting because in both cases, the more famous composers, Mozart and Mahler, in the case of Coleridge Taylor, were exposed to the music of the latter. So that is Coleridge Taylor. And so one of Coleridge Taylor's choral pieces was the most performed work by an English composer in the early 20th century. And it's known that Mahler himself had heard that piece. It's called Songs of Hiawatha. At least 5 times Mahler went to concerts where they performed that work. After that, he wrote, the 8th Symphony, the 9th Symphony, some of his greater works. So it's really amazing. I think there is a symbiotic relationship between these two particular composers, Coleridge Taylor and Mahler. I think nowadays, especially, we at the Baltimore Symphony are performing a lot of Coleridge Taylor, but he is a unique composer in the sense that, he died very young, but he had a very particular voice, very unique voice, incredible sort of romantic composer, if you will, that had I would say, immediate his music has immediate effect. You're just drawn to it, or whether you're saddened or you're made happy or whatever it is, the emotion. It's a very accessible, immediate feeling that one has while playing or listening to it. He has an original piece for cello which is not as great as this ballad. This ballad was written towards the end of his life, but when I heard the ballad, I think this is the very, very first performance of the ballad for cello and piano. I showed Andrea a recording of the ballad with violin and piano, and she said, "Oh my God, I love that piece! I just love that piece. Let's play it. Let's play it."
I fell in love with it. I did.
And you know
instantly.
What? Yeah. Since then, we have referred to Coleridge Taylor's ballad as Andrea's piece.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So she would say, "Okay, can we rehearse my my piece today?" I said, "No, we have to rehearse this and that." And said, "Can we do my piece at the end of the session?" Okay, fine. Okay, let's do it. She was obsessed with it. And Chris, I have to tell you, I mean, I would come back from a run or from a grocery store run or whatever it is, and I would hear the chords, the opening chords of Coleridge Taylor, or some of the difficult passages. She was practicing it all the time. It was amazing. I mean, I don't know what it feels to you to sort of connect with a.
To me, I'm like, it's like a high. I don't know how it is for the listener. Like when I first listened to it, like, I mean, it just, there's just so many different facets to that, and it's so melodic. It's just one of my favorite pieces, really.
What did you think?
I think it's a stunning piece. Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to have the opportunity to play it myself sometime. So, Andrea, I won't steal it from you, but I'm going to borrow it.
It's
the more that people play it, I want people I want everyone, to know the piece and play the piece. It's such a gorgeous piece. And I'm just so grateful that, over the summer that we challenged ourselves to find new music. And yeah, this was one of the, that was a lucky find.
I mean, one of the great byproducts of the Black Lives Matters movements, this summer is that it's really forced people, or encouraged is a better way of saying it, encouraged arts organizations and artists to try to engage with the repertoire that's oft overlooked in our kind of formal study. Because even though someone like Coleridge Taylor was well known around the world, as you've already said, worked in Anglican circles with Stanford and Elgar, and also toured the U.S. 3 times and went to the White House with Theodore Roosevelt. He was never part of my music education, right? Yeah. So the fact that people are now rediscovering this wonderful music is, I think, a really wonderful thing. And I wonder if you might just talk a little bit about Eric Lacy's piece and your relationship with him.
Segue. Yeah.
Eric's music, again, I have to say, such an immediate sort of musical response that he's able to conjure from this 4-minute work. 3 question marks. That's the name of the work. Eric Lacy and I went to the same school, although we may have overlapped for a month or something like this in North Carolina School of the Arts. But you know what? I'm not ashamed to say that at the time when I discovered his music, which was this earlier this year, and I still am 39 years old, and I have lived in America for 18 years. His music was the first music by a black composer that I have played, and I've played a lot of music, but for solo cello. Sorry, we've at the Baltimore Symphony we've played a lot of we play a lot of music by people of color and women composers and so on and so forth. For me, that was the first piece for solo cello by a black composer that I have played, and it was just first of all, Eric is a great composer. I think he works a little bit in movie music as well. We will for sure have more opportunities to work together. I've promised to commission a piece from him. I mean, he has this unique ability to, with not a complicated compositional language, but still you can still say that it's modern, it's 21st century, but it sort of catches you. It's the rhetoric is there, the questions are there, sort of the emotions. And what else would you need from a piece of music? It doesn't matter if it's for solo tuba, for orchestra, whatever. It needs to sort of make you feel something as a performer, and as a listener as well. His music is great. He's a great guy. He coached me on Zoom, as of course. He said, "Oh yeah, you're doing great." And I said, "Okay, Eric." He said, "Oh, you did great." Yeah. He's very hands off when it comes to, he said, "Okay, you're doing great."
Good. That's what we always like to hear. So there are a couple more comments here. Krista also wanted to know, she says, do you think the pandemic will change the way the BSO performs and how the public interacts with the BSO once we're able to attend concerts again?
You know what? I'm not a specialist, but...
Or a psychic.
No, but honestly, I don't know what it would take for all of us, and I'm saying for all of us as a society, and not only in America, but as a global society, to feel comfortable around one another. I really don't know what it would take. And I see that every day when I go out, when I go to the Baltimore Symphony for a short rehearsal. We have 90-minute rehearsals. It's hard. Everybody's aching for contact. Everybody's aching for the contact with people that you don't know, shaking hands. Chris, I'm sure that every major organization in the world will have to sort of look and have a very how would you say that? We'll have to adjust. I don't think it's going to be soon that we're comfortable doing what we were doing prior to March 15th when the closure in Maryland happened.
Yeah.
Europe is a little bit different, as some European countries didn't have a real COVID wave the same way we did, but right now they're having sort of the real bad deal.
Sure.
Germany, for example, in Czech Republic, my sister lives in the Czech Republic, and when COVID started here in February and March, the Czech Republic closed completely. It was basically a Wuhan-style closure. They had, I would say, 100 cases for 3 months, something like this. Nothing, negligent. So that country, for example, the Czech Republic, and they didn't experience negligible. They didn't experience what we've been experiencing here, but they experienced a huge spike in cases and in deaths in September, October, November. So, as an audience member, what do you think? I mean, you go to every concert of the BSO. Yeah. What would it take for you to...
I don't think anything's ever going to be the same again, but, there'll be a new normal and we'll all adjust. I mean, I personally cannot wait until, seasons start and my tickets, I don't get emails saying that things are canceled. I've been paying for things, paying for the upcoming seasons, like a lot of people started, and, I'm getting refunds slowly, or, donating the money back to the organization. So I think we just have to wait and see. But I can only imagine that a lot of people probably feel the way I do. Like, we just want to get back, to being in the seats and hearing the music live. I mean, it was such a treat, honestly. Like, anyone who hasn't been to Emmanuel, like, the acoustics there are just stunning. So when Lachezar played the Lacey piece, I mean, it was surreal. I mean, just to have that beautiful sound in a big room, I wish that other people could have also enjoyed that with us when we were performing. So we'll just have to just wait and see.
Sorry, we have that at the Meyerhof, we rehearse at Meyerhof, but the Joseph Meyerhoff Symphony Hall is an amazing hall with people inside. When that hall is filled to the brim, which I've seen it several times, it's unmatched. It's like the feeling is unmatched. Like I don't care. There's no drugs that can. Sorry, I don't. There's nothing that can sort of substitute that. Seeing a full Meyerhoff Symphony or Carnegie Hall, anything like that. It's just the feeling of people being there for the same thing. Pregnantly expecting for something to happen. It's an amazing feeling that we're missing. I'm missing.
Yeah, I think we all are. I mean, we've all had this incredible sense of loss, of course, during all of this, and but also at least I am very optimistic that we'll get through it and come out.
I mean, if I can just say, for example, Krista is one of the lucky ones because she's one of my chamber music students, and we were able to schedule a live coaching, where everybody was 6 feet apart. Her and her pianist were together in the same room, and I was there to coach them. Even for me, that was such an amazing experience. I was able to talk to other colleagues, musicians in the same room. It was just, I mean, and I used to do that every week or every day practically. Anyway, so
So Andrea, Hannah, your colleague from work, says wonderful performance, and she wants to know, and also that she loves the jacket. Wanted to know what it was like working with video production company. I mean, we talked about that a little bit at the top, and Nick and our guys are just fantastic. So
they were wonderful. So this was actually the first time I've ever done anything like this. So all of our concerts during COVID were all live stream. And I would get sick to my stomach because I was just so nervous. So I'm like thinking, this is great. We can record a few times, each piece. It was actually worse for me because, like, at least if you make a mistake in a live stream, like, you just let it go and you just move on. So to have, Lachezar especially, it's like, can we do that, that passage again or whatnot. It was actually more stressful to me. But the end product, I mean, like, I think somebody had texted us, said that's amazing that you guys will have the souvenir for the rest of your lives, So, again, they made us look, really good. I'm so proud, that I've ever done anything like this, and I'm happy, it was nerve-wracking, but at the end of the day, like, I'm just grateful that I had the opportunity to do something like that.
I mean, these guys and you, Chris, for, having the whole concept. These guys are the real deal.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
They're young guys. They're younger than me. I'm not ashamed to say that. Whatever. They were great. They were just amazing. And so I hope some of our audience members noticed that around the cello there was this little Oreo
candles.
Yes.
Yeah. So a little thing from inside the kitchen. Those candles were kicked by crew members, Christian Lane and myself, probably 15 or 16 times.
It was.
We're rubbing the floors, trying to get the wax off the floors. But yeah, that was pretty comical. Yeah, that was a good.
The candles definitely slowed down the filming because I'm there with like my butter knife, trying to get the wax off the floor because you could see it in the camera, right? Yes. And so,
Chris.
Yes.
One little thing I have to say, I'll be amiss if I don't mention that. Andrea was a true professional, like through and through, especially in cases where, if you remember, you were there, but we would play a piece and she would say, "I'm done." I think, and I would say,
"One take, I'm done."
Yeah, I would say, "Sweetheart, let's just have one more for security." She was like, "No, I'm done. I'm good." So it was just an amazing.
I don't know if Lachezar will want to do this with me again, but I am grateful again, like, that I had the opportunity to do it. It was a once in a lifetime experience.
Well, maybe not once in a lifetime, because Gita, I think that's how you say this name, wants to know if there are anything or any future performances like this planned.
He hasn't asked me yet, so I'm not sure. Well, no, I mean, obviously, Music at Emmanuel is going to continue. Chris, your organization is going to continue promoting until when?
We're working that out right now. So
yeah,
check back in a week or two.
Exactly. No, so obviously, Emmanuel is going to produce at least 3. I would say you have at least 2 or 3 more dates.
Yeah, we have two more for sure. Yeah.
So obviously the Baltimore Symphony, we've got our BSO sessions that has just such a great variety of music that you would listen. Every major organization, music organization in America right now is streaming. I think Baltimore Symphony is doing, I would say 65, 75% pieces that nobody else does. Nobody else would do. You would not hear it. You know when they say you're only gonna hear it here? Yes. At Baltimore Symphony sessions, you're only gonna hear it there. Very few.
But we have no virtual live stream from our home coming up anytime soon, which is a good thing. I
Okay.
totally don't break. And actually, I've been bugging him. I'm like, can I learn new music? Because we have a repertoire now, but I hear things and I'm like, maybe I can try that. So I just have to, I think, find the time and the discipline to practice.
Excuse
again.
me. You have an 8-hour-a-day job. Sometimes
it's
sometimes
hard,
it's
it's
more.
hard.
I mean, no, it's
it's
hard.
hard.
It's difficult, and I completely understand. But Andrea is doing just amazing work by doing this. She's helped me so much with this.
So quickly before I let you guys go, my sense is that you guys love to cook. Is that true?
Oh gosh.
So
Yeah.
so what's been the favorite quarantine recipe?
Much pasta.
I don't even know. But okay, so we recently became mostly vegetarian. So I want to say 95% of the time we eat vegetarian. So if anyone's interested in finding new recipes to get cooked during quarantine, there is a cookbook by America's Test Kitchen. It's for vegetarian recipes. And they are probably some of the tastiest, most satisfying recipes. Like I don't even miss that, we're not cooking with meat. But we recently discovered, I think it's like a shallot pasta, I think from the New York Times. Yes, you're right, Christian. We are definitely foodies, and I love to bake also too. So
it's very interesting because Andrea is just as a typical lawyer. She's just such a stickler to everything. I mean, excuse me, 1/4 of a teaspoon or something as a I always have to have a
he
little
wants
more
to improv.
flair.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we have some interesting approaches to cooking in the kitchen. So usually it's like one person has to be the chef and the other one has to be the sous chef.
Got it.
But yeah.
It's important to establish those boundaries. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but for baking, I understand that baking is almost like alchemy in a sense that, or math or science. It's like it has to be very exact.
He now learns that you really can't improv very
For
much.
making pasta, I mean, if they say one garlic, you just put 4 or 5, and you're fine. It's the same
Perfect.
thing,
Perfect. Well, I will let you guys get to your dinner or your drinks or whatever's on for tonight. But thank you so much for your wonderful program, and thanks for joining for this conversation. And thank you, everybody who is watching, for sticking around and your comments and your questions. And we will do this again in 2 weeks from this evening, the 27th of January, with 2 wonderful doctoral candidates at the Peabody Institute. Holly Nelson doing solo violin, and also Max Foster, who's a fantastic Australian pianist, playing Brahms' Third Sonata for solo piano. So fantastic. So please, everybody, join us then and share the YouTube video around. And there's Becky has a note here to check out the New York Times on Sunday, the at-home section, for some new recipes.
Will do. Thank you, Becky. Suggestion.
Actually, no, the shallot is a New York Times recipe. The shallot pasta, definitely we got it from New York.
I use the New York Times recipe all the time, so it's great. Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.